friends, and welcome to art. Today we're going to make a Zooflake. If you look on the right hand side of your screen, you will notice the book cover of the book Zooflakes, and under that a couple sample pages from that book. And I was really intrigued when I saw this book. I really liked the idea of taking an animal form and then sort of creating this sort of kaleidoscope effect that looks like a snowflake. And so we're going to give that a try. Now, your Zooflakes are not going to be nearly as complex as the authors and illustrators of the book. Mine aren't that complex. Theirs are not, quite a cutout of what we're going to do. So how are we going to do this? Well, I of course had to give it a try before I asked you to do it. What I discovered with this one right here, this is the first one that I did, is that I folded the paper a little bit too much and it was really challenging for me to cut out. As a matter of fact, the tail, get a little closer so you can see, the tail was going to curl around a little bit and it wound up getting chopped off accidentally. So this one's probably too many folds. So here's the second one I did. This one was a lot easier for me to do, and so that's the way I'm going to do it with you. And this one, I folded the paper into a triangle shape, and so that's what we're going to do. And as you can see, I added a few details. I made a rabbit, and then of course when I unfolded that rabbit, I've got a lot of new interesting shapes that appeared. And then I just kind of added some details to make it even more interesting. Now, the reason we're going to do a triangle shape is just as an experiment to see what would happen. I folded the paper up and did it as more like a rectangle. And I did the rabbit again, and this is what I got. Okay, so not quite as interesting as the rabbit that I just showed you. And as you can see, I drew the rabbit almost exactly the same way. It's just that the paper was folded differently, and so I got a different result. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through doing the folding of the paper, and then I already drew a creature on this one. I tried doing this live drawing it, but that's just too difficult because the way this is set up, it's a little bit awkward. So I think it works out better if I have it already drawn and then I'll cut it out to show you. We'll see how it turns out. So let's start with the folding. We're going to need an origami paper. So if you don't have your origami paper handy, put the video on pause and go get it. You also might want to get your scissors out and ready because you're going to need those. And then a paper to glue on if you want to. So glue perhaps, and I just use copy paper here. If you have other paper that you want to use to kind of glue it onto, and then you can add some details the way that I did, you can do that as well. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to go ahead and fold this in half diagonally. Okay, so we're going to take these two corners, match them up, and give it a crease. All right, we're going to do that again. Okay, without opening it, we're going to take that triangle that we just created and fold it in half. And give that a crease. And then we're going to take this triangle and we're going to fold it in half. Like so. Okay, so then you get your triangle shape. And you'll notice that you have folds along this edge right here. If I turn it this way, I've got folds along this edge right here. And on this side, it's mostly open. It's really important when you draw, whatever you're going to draw, and you don't have to draw what I do, but whatever creature that you draw, you need to make sure that it touches the folded edges. So this edge has some folds, and this edge has some folds. So my animal needs to touch these two edges. Now, the drawing that I did touches this edge, and I'm looking, when I cut this out, let me just show you. When I cut this out, I'm going to make these touch as well, because there is a fold down here. So I'm going to make that touch. Okay? So that way it doesn't fall apart. If it's not touching the edge, when you cut it out, it won't still be in one piece. Okay? So I am going to go ahead and cut this out. Get my scissors. All right, so I'm going to cut here. So I'm going to go ahead and let this little leg go all the way down. All right, so I'm modifying this just slightly. And again, that's just to make sure that my design stays in one piece. Alright, I'm going to go around. You see that? And I'm going to cut this out. So while I'm cutting, you can be thinking about what sort of design you want your Zooflake to have. Sort of brainstorm a little bit there. So it could be a rabbit or a crab like I'm doing, but it doesn't have to be a rabbit or a crab. Could be a dog, could be a horse, could be a butterfly. Whatever you want it to be. So think about an animal that you like, either it's your favorite animal or just one that you like to draw. You can look up in a book or look up online to maybe get some ideas of different animals and how to draw them. But notice I don't know if you can see this, I didn't do a lot of details in the body, I just wanted the shape of it. And then I can go back and add details later. So I'm just needing the shape of the animal. The shape is the important thing when you're doing the Zooflake. You don't need to worry much about the detail. So you want to choose something that's an interesting shape. So maybe a bear. A clam might not be a good idea because there's not a whole lot of too complicated, but it's too simple. People might say, what is that supposed to be? Alright. Let's see if this works. Like I said, this one's an experiment. I haven't done the crab before, and I tried to make it, let me turn it around. So I tried to make it so that I didn't completely cut. Notice I kept this part connected down here, so I was afraid it might fall apart when I open it if I didn't. So you want to make sure it goes right to those edges. Don't cut off where the folds are completely. There needs to be a place where it connects. So I'm going to go ahead and open it and see if I was successful. Oh, let's see. I think I did it. Okay. Missing a fold. All right. There's my crabs. I'll move it back so you can see. Okay. So you can see how when I cut this out, I have what are called the negative and positive shapes. So the positive shape is the shape of the actual crab. So this shape right here and this shape right here, you can see this is the one that I cut out. Then I've got some here and here and here and here and here and here. But then what's really interesting, once you've opened it up, I've created some new shapes, which are what we call the negative space. So I've got an interesting shape in here, between the two claws here, these legs here. Remember I said I'm going to stretch out these legs and make them go all the way to the fold, so that now I've created a shape there. So this is an interesting concept that you can play around with. You may need to do it more than once. As a matter of fact, you may want to practice on a scrap paper before you get your origami paper and start cutting the origami paper. So you may want to practice a little bit. Like I said, I tried some different ways before I decided that the triangle was the best way for us to do it. And so you might want to try some different animal shapes before you get one that you're really happy with. So if you have any scrap paper, recycled paper, whatever, you can practice a little bit before you get started. Hopefully by now you have an idea of what you want to do, and you can start practicing drawing. But just remember, here's another one right here I just want to show you. When you want to draw your animal, it needs to touch wherever there's a fold. Okay, that's really important. Don't cut along that fold area where that animal body goes to the fold. Keep it intact, and that's how it stays connected when you cut it out. If you just draw the animal in the middle of your paper and then cut it out, you're just going to have a bunch of individuals. They won't all make one flake shape. Alright, so now you have all this interesting symmetry, and you have this kaleidoscope effect, and it's really interesting. And then if you want it to, like I said, glue it to a paper, add some detail inside some of those open areas and make that negative space a little more interesting. Okay, so let me just show you my other examples. And again, these are not as complex as the ones that you see done by the illustrator. And that's, because we're cutting it out. Okay, and again, if you cut it into a square, you're going to get something more like this. So I recommend the triangle folding as demonstrated. So good luck. You can watch the video again if you need to, and have fun. If you'd like to send me a picture, take a picture of your finished work. I'd love to see it. If you want me to put it into the Highcroft gallery, that would be awesome. Just let me know your teacher name and grade, and I'll include that as well in the gallery. And good luck.